Since 2000, Barbara has visited 30 World Heritage countries. Last September 2024, Barbara and two friends flew to Taipei, Taiwan for a 10-day cruise to Yokohama, Japan. They stopped at Naha, Okinawa. So without further ado, Barbara Laird, Japan, Endless Discovery. I think that's a great title.
Thank you. I don't know if I deserve all those accolades, but sometimes when he's reading it, I wonder if he's talking about me. Anyway, I want to thank the MBA because when they asked me to do a presentation, I love it because I actually go back, look at my photographs, do some research, and I actually relive the trip another time. So I'm happy that you are here as an attentive audience. So thank you. Okay, I've been to Japan 3 times. And that's why we have the title, Japan Endless Discovery. But that's not original with me. That's the tagline that the Japanese government are using to market now. But yes, it is so appropriate because you cannot grasp that culture in one trip. It's just impossible. In fact, maybe you can't ever grasp it until you live there. So that's one item. And I don't know, Nikki, is Nikki here? Nikki is from Japan, and she may come, but I rely on her for pronunciation. So since she's not here, if you know Japanese, sort of close your ears so I don't become abrasive in the way I pronounce the language. Okay, that is one of my favorite photographs. It's taken of what they call the floating torii. It is beautiful. That floats when the tide is up, but when the tide goes down, people come out and collect shells and rocks. That's going to come up later, more details about that. Okay, the 3 trips. Find the green. Where's this pointer thing? Okay, here. This is where I lived. Weihai, China. And maybe it doesn't sound familiar to you now, but think of Qingdao beer. Because the Germans controlled that part of China at one time. So Qingdao beer is sold here in the United States. It's pretty okay. So it was a long weekend, unexpected 4-day weekend. So Mr. Suzuki, who's my neighbor, said, Barbara, you should go to Kyoto. Oh, sure, it's only a 2.5, 3-hour plane ride. Why not? You don't need a visa. Why not? Why waste 4 days in Weihai? So it was a very short trip. And where you next see the green from here to here, whoa, I'm shaking, it's Kyoto. And for some reason this map doesn't show up, but I had to use this map because of Taiwan. Okay, so my first talk is going to be about Kyoto, the cultural capital of Japan. So many shrines, so many temples, so much beauty, so much history. And it was supposed to be the target of the first bomb. There's a story behind that. A very touching story, so take a look that up. Okay, the second trip, I was flying from Seattle to Tokyo, flying, woo, right there, Tokyo. And I actually hired a greeter because it's such a big airport, and I was sort of scared. So I was greeted, and she put me on the monorail. Oh, this is easy, to go from the airport to the Tokyo main station. Oh, but because the flight was late, I was in with all of the traffic from people coming home from work. The Tokyo main station, I had to change and get on another subway, and it was so crowded. And so I have a bigger suitcase because I'm going on a cruise. I usually don't carry a big suitcase, but after all, this was going to be a 14-day cruise back to Seattle. So I'm standing there with all these people. They're coming around, and I'm not getting on. And so this Japanese guard in a uniform with white gloves literally takes me and pushes me on that train. I mean, I couldn't breathe. Every seat was taken, all air was being consumed, and it's like, I don't know. But I didn't have too many stops to go before I could exit. But that was my first experience with how crowded Japan really is. Okay, one caution, if you're going to take a cruise, probably this lady here will disagree with me, but I would not attempt crossing the Northern Pacific Ocean again in April/May. No, it was extremely rough. The pool had no water. We could not walk the deck. 2 ports were canceled. And when we finally got to Kodiak, Alaska, I could breathe again. So it was rough traveling. Okay, now the last trip was just last year, last September, and that was starting down here in Taiwan, Taipei. And even in September, it went September to October, even in September, you know that Pacific Rim is the ring of fire. So 2 of our ports in Taiwan were canceled because of hurricane damage. The ports were being reserved for ships that were carrying construction materials. So yes, that was that. So then from Taiwan, it was a 10-day cruise, Okinawa, going up the islands, and again ending in Yokohama. But then that was the cruise. I have to, do my own travel after that. Why Japan? There's so many places. You guys are all travelers. You go to many different places. Italy is the favorite. Spain and Portugal are the next favorites. Great Britain, Ireland, whatever. Why is this woman setting out for Japan? Truthfully, she wants to go beyond Western culture. How do other cultures deal with disagreements? Our country is having a little difficulty dealing with a lot of disagreements. How are other countries dealing? So I wanted to get into the Eastern culture to see if they had any secrets. One time I judged the English-speaking contest in China, and the title was How to Live Harmoniously. Harmony, harmonious living is a phrase in the Eastern culture. We don't do a good job of harmonious, and I thought maybe there was something there I could find out. Embracing defeat is the American occupation of Japan after World War II. And being an American history teacher, I was sort of put to shame because this photo is supposed to be the iconic photo of World War II. I never saw it. Had anybody else seen that photo? Yes. Well, he must. Are you an American history teacher too?
I lived in Japan for 2 years, but I didn't see it there. I lived in Hong Kong 30 years.
Okay. Talk to you afterwards, maybe. Well, the Japanese were offended. They lost the war, for heaven's sakes, but they were offended by that photograph because General Douglas MacArthur, the victor, has his arms like that, which is a no-no, and he's in his fatigues. He's not in his uniform. And so it's like in Japan, things are little things mean a lot. And one is the way you dress, the way you hold your fingers, the way you hold your arms, the way you turn your head. So Emperor Hirohito, the guy whose country lost the war, he's just all dressed in his elegant clothes. So that just shows the difference between how the occupation is going to run out, because we have the Americans who are more relaxed and we have the Japanese who are pretty strict and orderly folks. Okay, now, what's that thing above the photo? You know that? Hello, Kitty. Oh, she's so sweet. So the Japanese invented her, but now they've become really sophisticated with the anime. And I know nothing about anime, so I'm not going to say anything about it, but I just want to say my granddaughter majored in Japanese at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. She's worked for a Japanese company. She's in love with Japan, and I said, why? Why don't you like China? I mean, that's the world power, Japan, because it's orderly. They have rules in the language. It's easy to follow. And I think she's an orderly person. She obeys the law all the time. Okay, so one reason I like Japan also is because of castles. During the feudal times, every lord had a castle for defense, and the samurai and so forth. This is one castle was on my list. It's called the White Heron, like for the bird, and it was on the cruise ship. It's near Osaka. So, and the second reason I love Japan is the gardens, the very formal gardens. But that castle has sort of a mediocre garden, and I didn't want to show you one of the top 3 gardens till later in the show. Okay, first trip, Kyoto, 4 days. Take a train, there's an airport shared by Okinawa and Osaka. Take a train then to Kyoto, walk a few steps, get to the guest house. Isn't that a pretty guest house? And you take off your shoes and you put the slippers on and they take you to your room. The rokon is a traditional guest house. It has the tatami mats. It has like a futon thing, that the mattresses that you unroll. Very simple, very simple. However, there I see, walking the streets, it's like, there's a district in Kyoto famous called Gian. It's for the training of the geishas. However, they're thinking of closing it to foreigners because foreigners are so misbehaving and disrupting the process that may not go to Gian soon. Vending machines for everything. That happened to be cigarettes, but beverages, food, everything, the vending machine. That coffee shop is for Mr. Suzuki because he told me that in the 1950s, Japan had a decision to make. Should they upgrade their electrical grid or not? They chose not. That's what you see. It is a mess. Okay, of course there's a nice river. I walk along both sides of the river. The rich sort of live in those houses along there. And knowing that Kyoto is famous for castles, this is a gate. It's called whatever that word is. But it's a castle complex. It's just not one gate. It's just not one building. And so this shows a map of a complex, and that is the headquarters of one branch of the Buddhist religion. I didn't realize Christianity has all these different groups. Buddha has all these different groups too. Had no idea of that before I started reading. And this is their main building, their main monastery. It doesn't look too decorative from the outside, but it is, on the inside, extremely beautiful. I don't know, this was in June, and there were not very many people there, but there was one worshiper, of course, take off your shoes, there's one worshiper, and then the next slide, which I took out because I had too many, one of the priests came down from the altar, and he did some kind of ceremony. I had no idea what was going on, but it is a beautiful, beautiful Buddhist temple. Now, it doesn't do justice to the Shinto shrines because these are local shrines in neighborhoods. And so the Shintos have a great respect for nature. And they have a great respect for the emperor. And so when someone goes to a Shinto shrine, they take in, that rope indicates that this is the sacred place. And then they have those squiggly little paper things like origami that are hanging. Both of those usually come together, and they're indicative of a sacred place. When you reach there, then you're in a holy place. Okay, second trip. Why is Barbara going alone to Japan? Look at that metro system. Isn't she afraid? Well, Tokyo is the biggest city in the world on planet Earth. 14.8 million. That's of 2024, June. 14.8 million in the city of Tokyo when the entire population of Ohio is 12 million. So the population density is the highest on planet Earth too. And if you include the whole metro area, you have 37 million people. You know, if you have that many people and they have to get along, they have to follow rules. There has to be order. There has to be social cohesion. And that is the basis of their culture. Okay, now how am I going to do this? Well, this wonderful person by the name of Nikki, she and I had a little talk, a little meeting, and she said, Barbara, all you have to know is the Yamanote line. She said, that will take you. You just stay on JY, Yamanote line, which is green, and you will be able to travel that circle, and let me tell you, in 2 weeks, you don't want to do anything else, because everything there, every stop there has is noted for something really important in Japan culture. Okay? So I'm in this place, just came from the airport, Haneda. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'll stop at Ueno. Why did I choose that place? Because I read a lot. But Ueno has museums, a lot of museums, and they have the zoo. However, I think this is going to be easy, okay? So I get exit at Ueno. There are 6 exits.
Oh my gosh.
Which exit do I take? Because they're far away from one another. Well, one said Ueno Zoo. That was the redeeming factor there. So there I am. And I stayed in an APA hotel, which is different. Remember, I stayed in a ryokan, the traditional guest house before. Don't do the same thing twice. You don't live long enough. So now you go to APA hotel. It's a business hotel, meaning the rooms are very, very small. They're noted for small rooms. And that's okay. All I need is a twin bed, a dresser, there's a refrigerator, and then the bathroom is separate. Now, speaking of bathrooms, what in the world is this? Okay, you go to the toilet for the first time. What? What is waiting for me here? Oh, wow. I wasn't prepared. So here you have spray in the front, spray in the middle, spray in the back end. And this is simple. Usually they're twice that big and they give you more options. I don't know if this is the temperature of the toilet seat or the velocity of the spray. I don't know. All I wanted to know after I pushed the button, that where's the stop button? You know, so actually, about a month ago, because I've been gone over 3 weeks, about a month ago, I was in Costco's in Perrysburg. And you know where they have the home, the refrigerators and all that kind of home appliance stuff. And I'm walking along, and there's the end cap. There is a Japanese TOTO toilet.
Oh my God.
Just like I had in Japan. I come home, Dave, I want that toilet. I didn't push it because I'm worried about the plumbing, and I'm also worried about the electricity. So it was only $350.
Wow.
I know, that was a good buy. So maybe in the future, when my daughter comes to town this summer and they still have it, she'll be more agreeable to it. But it is hard to get along to. And this is a thing about cleanliness. You have this toilet, which is complicated. Then you go into the shower. And then from the shower, you clear it off. And then you go and sit in the tub. There's shower and big, big tub. Because the shower cleanses the body, the tub cleanses the soul. See how, it's sort of like meditative, isn't it? It's very, very nice. Okay, so there's the hotel. Now I'm ready to, that deserves a whole picture. I thought to myself, you know, is that really important? 7-Eleven, yes. It is ubiquitous. It is on every corner. 7-Eleven is where you go. I came in, nothing's open. I'm hungry. It's the end of the day. I go to 7-Eleven. Egg salad sandwich. Banana, apple, and tea, coffee, sweets, hearing aid, batteries, anything you want, you find in a 7-Eleven. I love them. Not here, they're too expensive in this country. I don't buy ice cream or anything here. But in Japan, it's Japanese owned. The Canadians last week tried to take them over. Japanese said, no, we're keeping ownership of 7-Eleven. So who's going to Japan? You probably already know about the 7-Eleven, so right down here, okay. So anyway, you will be comfortable in a 7-Eleven. Post office, money exchange, everything you need. So I started out walking and seeing the temples and seeing the park, and they're having a a peony festival. And it's a little rainy, but I just thought the colors and the peonies and the restfulness of the park was very nice. And then you can see the boardwalk. This is behind my hotel. It's about a 2-mile walk around, on the boardwalk around that pond. And that's so interesting. They had all these side altars, and there's the little dog with a red bib on, and then this statue with a red bib on. It's like, what do these mean? There's a certain God that people pray to in that religion. And the red bib sometimes means that a child has died, and this is the red, that would be a child statue. But I don't know about this, but red usually is the color of warding off evil. So that's probably that situation. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to do a hop-on, hop-off bus, find the station, walk around waiting for the bus to come, and that guy that you see, you can't see him. He's right over there.
He's on the left.
He's right there. This is a statue in the Mitsubishi headquarters. It's their headquarters. And the Japanese pride themselves for not having any homeless, that they take care of their homeless. Well, this guy is homeless. I didn't want to take a picture of his face or anything, but I wanted to say that he found a place to hang out. And there he is right there. So I board the bus, and what do I go to? I can't take a lot of pictures from one of those buses. I had to take this one. I don't care if it's a good picture or not. But this tower, this entire tower, is an entire university.
Oh my God.
From all the administrative offices, for all the classrooms, for all the residence life, for all the activities, that is a vertical campus. Isn't it amazing?
Yes.
I love that. I probably could have done more research on it, but it's just that the whole structure, to think a university campus could be vertical rather than what we have here. Remember all the people that live there, land is precious. And so I got off at that station called the Meiji Jingu, the shrine. The Meiji's, that clan restored order to Japan because before that 1868, there were all those clan leaders, all the lords of the different manors and things. So this was bringing all that together under one central government, actually had a constitution, democracy and so forth, and that's what they moved to. The capital now is no longer Edo, it is Tokyo. Well, Tokyo now is the center of things. And like I said, the torii is there, separates the secular from the sacred. You go through. It's so much of nature, like 1,000 trees there. Like every province in Japan donated trees for this thing. And then they take the trees and, bonsai, they take and form the tree. And all of their shrines are made of wood, usually cypress wood. But, ignorant, I don't know what goes on in these buildings. I really truly don't, because when we tour them, they're empty except for one souvenir shop. So I had to go on the internet to show the expanse of the wooden buildings without much knowledge of what is happening inside. Okay, time to leave Tokyo. Let's go to take the bullet train. Now, a couple miles, 100 miles, 200 miles an hour, going to Hiroshima. And they have like 25 of these going from Tokyo to Hiroshima every day. So, you buy your ticket. It's for 4 hours. It's a little bit short of 4 hours to get there. But I love that train. And every time I get on an Amtrak train in Toledo that takes me to North Carolina, which takes 24 hours, and I see how junky that train is, I get upset. Why isn't this country doing something like that? I think it's because we love our cars, and we give freight trains precedence over passenger trains, so passenger trains have to wait all the time. But those pictures were taken out of the window of the train as I'm going 200 miles an hour. You know that I probably took 20 photos, and those were the only 2 good ones. But it's true, but I think they're okay photos.
Yeah.
That one is outskirts of, now what happened? That's really bad. Outskirts of Tokyo, and then going into the farmland. And the farms are not large, like acres and acres and acres like the US. The farm plots are rather small. Okay. Guess what we have? There are not that many English signs, but there's Anytime Fitness. It's like, well, that's in Perrysburg. Of all the things they can put in English, why is it Anytime Fitness? Well, that's what it is. I'm on my way. I checked into my hotel. I'm on my way to walking to the Peace Park. And so what am I going to find? Well, around the block I find this. And in this photo, this photo, I was a little late in wanting to take the picture. Unfortunately, in the lateness, in my tardiness, a foreigner got in there. Now, how do I know he's a foreigner? Well, look at the uniform of the workers. Women and men, white shirts, black suits, black backpack, and stay in line. Do not get out of that crossing. This is extremely important. Never, never walk on red. My hotel, it's like, I had to wait 5 minutes sometimes. There's no traffic, there's no people. But the light won't change green. Walkman. In Japan, you do not violate that. You obey the rule. If anybody's looking or not, you obey. And you can see everybody is uniform, except this guy here, who he must have been to the Good Feet store. I don't know, but anyway, he doesn't have the traditional shoes on, and baggy pants. They're not the dress pants. But anyway, that's a typical crossing the road. Okay, on the way, no, it was probably less than a mile to get to the Peace Park, but I ran into this shrine. It's probably one of the most beautiful Shinto shrines I've seen. On the corner, you know, they have these animals there. Sometimes they have the mouth open and the other one has the mouth closed, or they have, you know, they're protecting whatever's going to happen at that shrine. And to the side of that shrine is a series of torii, and all red. And I have to say that of all the time I've been there, only one person, other than a waitress or other than a service worker or something like the hotel clerk, no one ever talked to me, except this guy. He's a businessman, he's coming in, and he said something this morning. So I said, "Ohio." Ohio means good morning in Japanese. So that was the extent of our conversation. So then he said some prayers at the altar. And see, there's a very beautiful Shinto shrine just on the corner, you know. Then a few more blocks and I get to the Peace Park where the G7 group was meeting in a week after I was there. So they love flowers, and so I had to take, you know, close-ups of the G7 and H there. It's a really big Peace Park, a lot of buildings. Now, usually I get very sad when I read this, but, you know, I like to do UNESCO things, and this was dedicated in December 7th, 1996. The tragedy of the suffering of the first bomb in human history. Okay. I have a really hard time. Son? No? Taps. Taps. It is a burial tomb. I don't want to call it like unknown soldiers, but it's a burial tomb without the bodies, but the names. And read across the top.
Oh my goodness.
Way through, that is my photograph, by the way. Right all the way through that structure is the A-bomb building. It's not part of the Peace Park. but it is the A-bomb building. And we will see that that was not renovated at all. That was left to show what the destruction was. And I took that from across the river, from the Peace Park. Odd thing, this is in the Peace Park. It's in the basement of the building that was destroyed. It now is, they call it the rest house. Actually, it is souvenir shops on top, on the main floor, and also where tours start in the rest house. But they have the steps, you go downstairs. They have kept this from the bombing. One person survived. It was a fellow who usually when he went to work, his work was set out in front on a table, and for some reason he didn't have his work set out. So he went down the steps and the bomb was dropped, and he's the only survivor.
Oh my goodness.
So this, what is she doing taking pictures of basements? But actually it had pretty good structure, didn't it? I mean, look at those beams up there. I'm not a structural engineer, but it survived. I'm glad they kept it. And then off to the side there are meeting rooms and things. The very center, the hypocenter, it's not in the Peace Park. It's not by the A-bomb shell. I'm old-fashioned. I send postcards. The 7-Eleven didn't have postcard stamps for the U.S. I had to go to the post office. So I'm on my way to the post office on the back street, and that's what I find. Otherwise, it would be overlooked by most tourists, really. That photograph is by the U.S. Army. If you don't get to the end. Okay, so then I get on a boat on that river and go to that shrine. Remember the floating torii? That was my beginning. And it's on an island. It's on a very wooded island. And it's Miyajima Island. It was about a 45-minute boat ride out into the sea, Hiroshima Sea. There's another English sign. Of all the signs, we have the dead end, because there, you can see the torii way in the back by the trees. And then it really is fun to try the local delicacies. And the oyster curry bread was really good. And had a break for the ice cream too. Okay, now right back there is a whole line of the lanterns that lead back to the shrine. And again, what shrines are for is a mystery. They sort of store places. There they had barrels of sake wrapped up in one of the rooms. People live on the island. They're up there in the trees. And they have a strange rule because the whole island is holy. So they don't allow any births or deaths on the island. So if you're sick and ready to die, they want to keep the island clean. That's Shinto. I don't understand, but that's it. Okay, so I copied that from the internet. That was a good picture because the tide is down and people are out there collecting the shells and whatever. The castle is rebuilt. Of course, the castle was destroyed with the bomb. So that's a rebuilt castle. The castles, they have a lot of stairs and a lot of empty rooms because they were protection and there was, weapons and supplies and stuff. But now they're just wooden rooms with a lot of stairs to get to the top. And that eucalyptus tree is a survivor. Okay, so now take the big Shinkansen and go to a national park south of Tokyo. That is a tourist train. It is going through the mountains into the national park. Very famous, by the way, and that's an internet photograph, so you can see the scenery that you see out of the windows when you're on that train. And we end up in Yokohama, because that's where we're going to get on our cruise ship to go to Alaska. And it's beautiful. It's June, no, it's not June, it's April, May, and beautiful flowers. And I love this one with the Girl Scouts. This was celebrating 50 years of the Girl Scouts in the U.S., and Japan Girl Scouts joined the World Organization.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, isn't that neat? Actually, there were 3 Girl Scouts. One got, something happened to it. Oh, now this is a different trip. That last time was April, May, and this is October of the same year. The next year, October 24th. And we get off the cruise ship, and I, like to organize trips and stuff. So I found, I think it was TripAdvisor, but I won't absolutely swear to it, the reviews for this My Shuttle. Because it's a long way from the port to where we're staying in Tokyo. So I had made a reservation for 3 of us, and we had to tell our luggage and all of that. I paid for it in euros, and I was expecting a person with a sign that said my name and would lead us out to the shuttle. Well, we waited and waited. Finally, this guy came, had my son, he had my name, follow me. So he took some of our luggage and we went around and we went down underground to where the parking lot was. It's like, this is highly unusual. Usually they have the van right out front, but we got in, and we went through the gate, and no sooner, we weren't even 1 block from the port, police pulled us over. Police car, that's us? He's pulling us over? For what? Well, we found out what. Here we were interrogated for 2 hours. These people were the interrogators, the main, this man, the main one. She's the interpreter who lived in Missouri. She was a really good interpreter. And then he was the tech guy that I gave my phone to. So they're asking all these questions. How did you find this? When did you reserve it? And I had the paper that was printed out. Everything's in my cell phone. And detailed questions. And it was like, why us? But then, it went on for a half hour, maybe longer, and he asked me to sign the paper of what I said. And his boss, you could tell, was eavesdropping behind and listening to everything. So signed the paper. I said, I hope I get a copy. No, we don't do that in Japan. I said, now listen, we all have been cooperative. Gave you my phone, I had passports, we answered all your questions, you're not letting us see it? Well, we don't do that in Japan. I said, I think this may be the time to call the American Embassy. My 2 friends looked at me like, shut up, Barbara. And so there was silence. And then the silence, let silence be for a while. And then I said, I don't even know your names. I know nothing about you. I said, may I take your pictures? He said, yes, you may, but we can't pose for them. We can't forbid you. So I got the camera back, and those are the pictures that I took. Now, it turned out to be nice because this one they first stopped us, and Susan, she's really concerned that they're taking our luggage out of the trunk. They're going to go through our luggage. What's going to happen to our luggage? And then after the inquisition, the interrogation, they said, now we're going to take you to the real police station. I said, what happened to our driver? He's handcuffed and in jail.
Oh my God.
And I was afraid that they were going to ask us to identify the driver because I couldn't. I was sitting in the front seat. I could know he was, but what I could say about his physique would pertain to every other Japanese man practically. But they didn't, thank the Lord. So they decided, the 2, not the girl and the main guy, they put us in an unmarked police car and drove us to our hotel, which was 1.5 hours from the port. So they had all that time invested in the interrogation, all that time invested in driving us and then coming back. It was a big sting operation. And we just happened to be there, the innocent Americans. I think the driver was not registered to be a shuttle driver, and they were cracking down on that, and it was just the wrong time at the wrong place. Okay, so, no, you ain't know this time. We're going to Shibuya. That is a famous crossing. This is where you want to go. It's more fun. Definitely want to go there. That's taken from my hotel window, I think, on the 21st floor. And the biggest shopping place was right there. And there's the main street and all these other buildings. And I love that, Shibuya. We sure did a right job doing that. And then there's that famous crossing called the Scramble. Sometimes there's 3,000 people crossing at one time. Here's our hotel now, taken from the end window, not from our room, but from the hallway. And we usually use this crossing because there's big Starbucks right there. We sat on the second floor and watched all the crazy people. But here's the main train station there, and that little dog. Anyway, that's coming up. And so we decided, we just knew now we're hungry from all that activity of the day. Oh, my friends, they don't let me eat at McDonald's. That's such a pity. So we chose this place. Oh, salmon and avocado? That sounds like a good meal, yes. Then I look around. Oh my God, it's raw. It's raw. I got to change my order to steamed buns, which I did. And then we took a free walking tour, which I love because they're run by young people. And that girl who led us is from Denmark. Not Denmark, Norway. And that was the lobby of our hotel. Not the lobby, but people pass through there to get to the metro. But I love that painting. And then we went to this park. And it's like, why am I taking pictures of trash cans? Because the Japanese don't have trash cans on their street. They have all these vending machines, and you have all this trash. Take it home. This is your personal responsibility to keep our city clean. You take it home and dispose of it. And that's hard to do sometimes. But in this new park, they're starting to use the trash cans. Why? Back in 1996, a terrorist group had these nerve gas attacks on the subway. And so 30 years ago that happened, but still, don't watch the chat. Then there's that story of the dog. Anybody see that movie? Okay, that dog waited for his professor every day. The professor dies, he still waits. People take care of the dog. Oh, I want to say something about my travel partners. Pat's from Michigan. She's a longtime friend. And Susan. Those of you who know Susan, I don't know. She's just recovering from her knee operation. She had a knee replacement. So she's 3 weeks out. So that's where she is. And then we get to the Royal Gardens, the Emperor's Palace. And it's like, that's the palace? I couldn't believe it. So the guard did a Google search. That's the guard's hand holding the translation. This is the main gate, but it's a place where His Majesty the Emperor and foreign presidents enter. After all those other beautiful gates to the temples and everything, I thought that was too utilitarian. But there's the pretty gate, the fence leading up to it. Okay, Pat goes home. She's been away for 3 weeks. She's got to get home. Susan and I take the bullet train from Tokyo to Kanazawa, through the mountains, through the Alps, because this is one of the top 3 gardens of Japan. How do they rate the gardens? Oh, there have to be paths and gravel and different style of bridges and the placement of rocks and the placement of the trees and the shape of the trees. The castle has just been destroyed. There's no castle behind that wall. So that is supposed to be one of the top 3 gardens. We liked it. But this guy in our hotel fascinated me. He's a statue behind protection. And that was one of the clans on that Sea of Japan coast. But what I really like about him, his cap is supposed to be a catfish tail. Because the catfish is supposed to have the power to cause earthquakes or prevent them. I love those kinds of things. And then we had a bus tour for a day. We had to join a bus tour to get to these 2 villages because they're UNESCO and they're way out in nowhere. So these are bus photos. This is the countryside. This looks like solar panels.
Yeah.
Does that look like a field with solar? But actually, again, this came out pretty good. So these are traditional villages, traditional houses. And this man still lives there and has the fire inside, talks about his culture, plays his musical instrument. But we're going to see, if you click that box up in the corner, see if it plays his music. Now, see, every time I import something like that, it doesn't work. No, that's okay, that's okay. Anyway, inside the house, of course, is an altar. And this one, I really had to take this photo to make that fire hydrant the prominent feature. Because there's warnings all over about the danger of fire. And because those houses are wooden with straw and all of that kind of stuff, that's a really nice picture with the rice growing in the front. Now we go back to Tokyo, we go to Nikko National Park. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. We're staying in a traditional hotel, and we ordered, my mistake, I ordered too many of these meals, 2 of them. 1 would have been enough. Because as you look, they are very filling. But as you read, you start out with fruit rind. We made tofu skin. We ate the sashimi, you know, raw tuna, raw shrimp, raw whitebait. It goes down like it. And we cooked our food. We had cooked rice with oyster. The best part was dessert. But the meal goes on and on and on, like this talk is. I'm going to be ending pretty soon. And right out of our hotel, down on the main street, is this bridge. And once the bus crosses the bridge, it goes up all these hairpin curves, all higher, higher. What was the really rich hotel that they just finished going up? But it's the gateway to all the shrines and temples. All the UNESCO shrines and temples are up there. So I want to say this, Mr. Jim, can you read that, please? What does that mean?
We did something at the ryokan. I can't read it all.
I love traveling. That's the Japanese for the phrase. I love traveling.
Ryoku is the same word as ryokan.
Oh.
It means travel.
Okay. So that's a T.S. Eliot phrase that I love because it's so true. Once you are in Eastern culture or whatever culture and you see how other people live and their values and their habits and everything, and then you come back home with all that knowledge and you see where you live for the first time.
Oh my goodness.
End of story, folks. Thank you.
Question?
Yeah, questions.
Question?
Yes.
Okay, this might be a silly question. However, the place you said where nobody is allowed to be born or die.
Yes.
What happens if somebody has a heart attack and dies right there? Do they drag you off of the property?
You won't hear about it.
I truly don't know. I truly don't know. But I think if it's a surprise one, I don't know what they say. But if you've been sick for a while, I think they find a place for you. Yes.
Two questions. Were credit cards widely accepted and no?
Oh, this is a very important question. If you're going to Japan, you get a Suica card. And a Suica card is you buy it from a machine. You put money on it from your credit card or put cash on it. And then you use that Suica card to go to 7-Eleven, you use it on the metro, you use your Suica card all over. You cannot exist in Japan without a Suica card. And you buy that at a machine at the airport or at the train station.
So they don't use a lot of cash transactions?
They don't use, okay. The Starbucks that you saw, that was the oddball because they would not use cash, but most places in Japan use cash. You have to have a lot of cash with you.
Yeah, and then my other question was chopsticks. Do you know how to use chopsticks? I don't. Will I starve when I go to?
No, you will not starve.
Oh.
It's okay, Jane. But why don't you take a couple lessons? Just look it up on Google and see how you hold them. It'll be okay. But then you have to get used to that raw food.
Yeah.
Or you can ask for a knife and fork.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, some places.
Okay. Oh, you have money?
We got Japanese money.
Oh, Chuck, you tell them how much, if you have a $10,000 yen, how much is it in American money approximately?
Yeah, that's about right.
You're not giving this to me. I thought it was a gift. Okay, this is 1,000 yen. It's, I moved the decimal point 2 places. It's $10.
Oh, okay.
But it's not really 10, it's like 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I moved the decimal point 10 to start with, and then depending on what the exchange rate is, I do it, take it down a little bit more. And I never did learn the coins.
The tiny lightweight one's worth nothing.
When were you in Japan?
Last week,
Oh my gosh! Did you go to the places?
some of them.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me, did you enjoy your time there?
It was very busy. We walked a lot. It was very crowded.
Did you use Google Maps, or did you buy a SIM card?
My daughter used Google Maps to get us around. She lives there. And we went to visit her, but we went to Tokyo, we went to Osaka, we went to Kyoto, we went to,
How long? How many weeks?
we've stayed 12 days.
That was good. And these people are going next week,
And lunch.
in a month, so you may want to talk, okay?
Speed train, she said do the speed train.
Do the what? Oh, the Shinkansen? Of course, you're going to do that.
Get one of the cartoon trains.
Oh, one of the what?
The cartoon trains?
Oh, I don't know about them.
Yeah, we went on, Absun Con or something. It's a cartoon character for kids. Get on the little kid ones. Kid trains quiet. Kids get off and they sit there waiting at the train. So cute.
I'm so happy that people have fun. I'm going to put this on the table for people to look at. And
How about Pokemon?
13 years. 13 years.
yeah, Pokemon. That was a Kyoto. That was developed in Kyoto. Yeah. Well, thank you again for your attention.